What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chaos, and guess what? It is that time of the year, guys. It is the episode that we do almost every year, and it is, of course, we rank our top matches in pay-per-views and PLEs of the year so far. This is the halfway mark of the year of 2024, so we got to do a list here. We got to give you all a little something before the big one at the end of the year. So yeah, obviously, like as always, like, share, subscribe, and without further ado, let us take it to the table. Okay, so obviously for this list, I need to have a very esteemed panel, and obviously I got them right here. So let's start off with, to my upper right is none other than Soul from the Soul Sessions. How you doing today, Soul? Bright and very, you know, full of energy as always, Soul.
Well, I've been at the pub since 5 p.m. It's been a long day.
Okay.
I finished my list. Finished it maybe about 20 minutes ago.
Fair enough. This should be a very interesting one. All right, cool. In the middle, right there, is none other than the one and only David Sheldon. How you doing today, sir?
Well, in comparison to Soul, I'm loving life. I get to talk about wrestling matches. My favorite thing. This is my favorite list of the year. This is. I get to get my little stats out, and I get to put my little lists. It's my favorite time. Yeah, I've given 77 matches 4.5 stars or higher this year. So narrowing down that list was great fun. But I've got one. It's taken me hours and days and weeks, but I have my 10. And I guarantee you there'll be a match that we're recording this on a Friday. I guarantee you tomorrow there'll be about 6 matches that'll be in contention, and it'll ruin the entire list. But you know what?
That's what we're here for. This the joy of wrestling, ain't it? Good quality wrestling. So like,
what a good problem to have, eh?
Exactly. What a good problem to have, for sure. So yeah, don't worry. I look forward to your list at the end of the year. But yeah, we're talking about the midway point, of course. And of course, last but not least, is none other than El Jefe, Ben Allison. How you doing today, sir?
I am doing great. I've done quite a few shows today, and I am pumped. I am ready to go. 10 p.m., 20 to 11 here in the UK. Usually nowadays that's almost my bedtime, but I am energized, I am ready, and let's do this.
Why do you all have so much energy, for fuck's
Because we've not been drinking for the last 6 hours, so funny what happens when you do that.
Yeah, I know, right?
We haven't got stinking hangovers.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that terminology, please.
You know, you've been drinking. I've been up watching death matches until 20 to 11, so I'm full of blood and violence and gore and energy.
I'd rather that, to be fair. Flip it up. All right, well, let's just get started, shall we? And you know, whilst we're old soul, you know, briskly and you know, bushy and all that good stuff. Anyway,
hyped.
We don't get hyped. We stay hyped.
Oh, that's Soul's favorite guy.
Hey, that song was in my Spotify Wrapped of 2021 before WWE took off fucking Spotify, the bastards.
They saw sense. Anyway, moving on to the list. Like I said, we all got our individual top 10 lists of matches of the year. Our pay-per-views will come out in the end of the year, of course. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the best matches of these PLEs and pay-per-views so far. So this is obviously going across AEW, WWE, New Japan, or any promotion that's had pay-per-views. So yeah, you might see some surprises. You may go, what the hell? Or, oh, why is it so far down? Or why is it so far up? We'll see. So yeah, this is what we're here for. So yeah, you know what? I'm gonna save myself a little bit. So yeah, let's go. Let's start with the one that's got the most energy, and that is of course Soul. And would you please kindly give your top 10 matches of the year so far, please?
Where the fuck's my list?
Oh my gosh.
No. Aha! I have it here somewhere.
It's written on the back of the paychecks Tony Khan gives him every month.
Oh.
That is a joke. I say that as the AW reviewer. You
think I
be honest,
my drinking habit.
when we get to my list, you might think it's not him that's getting the paychecks. Anyway.
Do you want me to do my worst starting off with? Because I do have
No. We'll save that for the bit. We'll save that for the end. Don't worry. Let's go. Let's run on your team.
Number 10 I have is from a UK promotion. It's a match that I saw and thought was really stellar to a conclusion of a exceptional feud, and that is Kid Lycos versus Spike Trivet at Progress Twisted Metal for the Progress World Championship in a steel cage match. Looking at how this build up, Kid Lycos ended up losing his mask to Spike in a mask versus title match at Vendetta. Led it to Twisted Metal with the steel cage being a match type that Spike has never lost until Kid finally travailed. You know, he got through it and he defeated Spike to gain the Progress World Champion, and he's on a killer run at the moment. And Allison's done a great video on Luke Jacob versus Spike and versus Kid Lycos. You can see on the Wrestling Public YouTube channel. That's my plug for the evening. Number 9 is somebody who I've interviewed who was in a match, and it's my only NXT match on this list. It is Dijak Obafemi versus Josh Briggs at Stand and Deliver for the North American Championship. When we were watching Stand and Deliver live, I felt like all of us watching it who were there stopped and considered that might have been a high standard of wrestling for the weekend. And it exceptionally was. I think it was the best match on Stand and Deliver, and I think it was maybe the best match on that Saturday, including WrestleMania Night 1, in my personal opinion. Number 8 I have is a women's match, again from the UK, 2 women who absolutely killed it, both who I've interviewed. Daniel Luna versus Alex Windsor in a dog collar match at Rev Pro Revolution Rumble for the Rev Pro Women's Championship. Stop drinking chaos, pay attention. This was an exceptional match for the championship, and 2 women absolutely bloodied themselves for it. Calling back to the previous match where I think it was Dani Luna versus Kanji, I believe, for the title. And Alex Windsor came out and basically paraded Dani like a dog on a leash, setting up this match. It was stellar. They beat themselves to death with it. And Dani again came out the winner and retained her title. Number 7, a match I've seen live in person was Eddie Kingston versus Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson if you want to be finicky, at Revolution for the Continental Crown Championship at the time. The presentation of this match in itself was absolutely phenomenal, with the whole backstage vibe and playing the themes and having them come out. It really, I think, cemented Eddie in the minds of maybe some people who really didn't care for him. Beating somebody like Bryan is an exceptional put onto your record. And obviously it was the last defense of the Continental Crown before it was broken up into the current state we see it as it is. Number 6 is somebody who just got signed by the WWE. Congratulations for that. It is Mercedes Moné versus Stephanie Valkyrie from Forbidden Door, title versus title, New Japan Strong and TBS Championship. I think like it was an exceptional women's match and really made Stephanie be put on the map, as we can see, because Triple H signed the dotted line and nicked her from CMLL. Sorry, guys, build another division. It was absolutely fun, and I truly think this was a highlight for women's wrestling in 2024. Number 5, this is going to piss people off, but I don't give 2 shits. It is Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40 for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. I personally, and I know David said this in the past, I believe, I prefer the 39 encounter to the 40 encounter in my mind. Obviously, it's the first time it happened. It was what it was. I think everybody was off their seats for it. And minus Allison, we all saw the finish coming 6 miles away. He was in denial that this would happen. And yes, it was amazing with the whole Undertaker, Cena, Rock situation happening at the end. But I feel like maybe that kind of overshadows their in-ring work a wee tad. And also, you just seen Cody and Roman wrestle the night before. It puts a bit of a damper on it because you've already seen it happen in less than a 24-hour period. Number 4, this is a match that is an emotional one for me, and I truly loved it, seeing it live. It is Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks at Revolution for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Sting's final send-off, the whole entrance, his sons appearing there, Ric Flair, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat getting involved, the glass spots, the table spots, Sting with the bat. You could highlight so many of this, and the Young Bucks as well putting in an exceptional performance as they do because they are our EVPs. Number 3, I think this might surprise people, but it was an exceptional match. It was the best match of that card and maybe one of the best WWE matches of the year. It is Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable for the Intercontinental Championship at Clash of the Castle, Scotland. Out of that entire card, this was the best match. It was the match most people were invested with, the most hype, the most reaction, the most crowd work, the stuff with Otis, the stuff with Maxine, even Tozawa being there on the side had a bit of an impact as well. And it was the most pure wrestling match you could see, and an overall fun and enjoyable match. Number 2, it is Will Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Championship at Forbidden Door. A lot of people were surprised this match was happening so early, but with the plans we see for All In now, I get it. And also it kind of adds credibility to Swerve Strickland as the AEW World Champion. These two absolutely brought it. The whole story around the Tiger Driver 91 or 97. I don't know my years. I'm drunk. I'm sorry. Don Callis introducing the screwdriver that wasn't eventually used, and Swerve getting it with the house call and ended up finishing the match with a pure wrestling move, cementing Swerve as a great AEW World Champion. Number 1 is Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay that happened at AEW Dynasty. There is not a doubt in my mind that a match could surpass this. Maybe Bryan and Swerve are All In. But I absolutely feel like these two brought it when they needed to. When you have a crowd chanting, "We are not worthy," to a match happening, you know you were putting on something spectacular for the fans. It was hard hitting. It was emotional. It was driven. It was pure, utter excitement. And that is my match so far of the year of 2024.
Fair dues, fair dues. Very solid list, I must say. And yeah, a couple surprising ones, especially with Sami Zayn versus Otis.
Yeah,
Sami Zayn versus Otis, Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable. That was yeah, obviously you was there live. And for me, in terms of the crowd and whatnot, I don't think it transitioned as well as on TV as it did. Obviously, it must have been over live, but yeah, no, those are pretty good good rankings. Well, what do you guys think?
I think it's a very solid list. I am a little bit shocked at how low I'm very shocked about how low Rock and Cody was from being not Rock and Cody.
Roman Cody. Third time's the charm.
Reigns and Cody was. But no surprise, Ospreay Danielson number 1. I mean, I think that might end up being a bit of a pattern, but very, very solid list indeed.
I think it's a great list. To my eternal shame, the 2 British matches that got mentioned, I've not seen either of them. I've not been as on top of my Brit race this year as I should have been. I've been more with Mexico and Japan. So I am on a huge goal to catch up over the summer, particularly with those matches mentioned. Obviously, I watched Ben's video earlier. Absolutely fantastic. Go and check it out. There's my plug for the day. But it genuinely was fantastic, and the match looked brilliant, and I love Progress and I love Rev Pro, so I need to catch up on those. But otherwise, I think there's Sammy and Chad would not be near my list, but again, personal preference. Drew versus Roman was my favorite match in 2022 because I was there. So I think being at a wrestling show will always help that. But yeah, very solid list, and very, very, you can't really argue, I don't think, with particularly your top choices.
No, not at all. So yeah, very, 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 very good. Thank you very much. So, next up, I might as well bring you back up here, David. Let us go into your top 10 matches of the year so far, please.
Okay, so before we start, I hope you'll humor me just for 1 minute as I run through some honorable mentions, because I had so many matches I can't not. So we're only counting pay-per-view matches. So just want to bring up some great TV matches that might have been in my list, but I couldn't count them. So the Collision Cage match, FTR and Daniel Garcia versus the House of Black. Forbidden Door Gauntlet, where they had all the different promotions coming in before Forbidden Door. Hangman Page versus Jay White from the most recent episode of Collision. Gabe Kidd and Aaron Hanare was on a New Japan tour, so I can't count it, but it's unbelievable match. They just knock each other out at the end. It's brilliant. And Gunther and Sheamus, quarterfinal of King of the Ring. Also, matches that at some points were in my list and I took them out that would have counted was Hechicero and Zack Sabre Jr. from CMLL Sabados de Coliseo, just unbelievable. Shingo, Takagi, and Tamatonga from Wrestle Kingdom. Gunther and Sami Zayn from Mania 40. LIJ versus Mystico and the Lucha Bros from the Forbidden Door 0 Hour, which I thought was unbelievable, just missed out. Connor Mills versus Zack Sabre Jr. from Rev Pro High Stakes, the best match on that card, and Ospreay versus Oku was on that card. And Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita from Revolution. Watch out for the name, Will Ospreay. Anyway, top 10. At 10, this might have been a top 3 entry if it wasn't for the finish. Trick Williams versus Javon Evans versus Ethan Page versus Sean Spears from NXT Heatwave. I absolutely adored this match. I thought this might be the single best performance I've seen all year from Javon Evans, from out of any wrestler. I thought I could not believe what I was watching. I think he is a sensation. And I think he was the highlight reel of this entire match. I think everyone played their part brilliantly. If it wasn't for the stupid ending where Sean Spears could have got in the ring and broke up the pin, but decided instead to hold Trick Williams for absolutely no reason, it might have been a top 3 match, but a phenomenal end to a phenomenal show. That's number 10. Number 9 is we go over to one of my more sort of lesser known picks from Tokyo Joshi Pro 2024, Miyu Yamashita versus Masha Slamovich, because they absolutely beat the living piss out of each other. Oh, I love it. So these two are phenomenal. This was right at the start of the year, one of the first matches I saw in 2024, and it still stands up as one of the best spots where they're just trading, strikes and power moves, and, the psychology around each other's finishes is so brilliant. It's no surprise these two are amazing and they put on an amazing match. But I think this is the best match Tokyo Joshi have done all year. And it was one of the very first, and I don't think they've topped it since. Absolutely phenomenal. At 8, I echo one of Soul's picks. It's Dijak versus Josh Briggs versus Obafemi from NXT Stand and Deliver, because it was just awesome. It's Hoss. I love Hoss wrestling. I think they did a terrific job sort of working in and amongst each other. Obafemi, again, another sensation from this year. Working very well in and amongst the veteran in Dijak. And then Briggs is young and relatively, new as well. We forget. And he played his part brilliantly. I think people forget about Briggs in that match. But outstanding. Best match of that night. And I agree. I think better than anything on that first night of Mania. Just exceptional. At 7, this is a match that I think got underrated by some. Not by everybody. This did get some 5 stars elsewhere. But some people wasn't as keen. I loved it. Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay. There's Will Ospreay again from New Japan Pro Wrestling Battle in the Valley. To me, this was the perfect sort of summation of the Ospreay-Okada feud. I think it was fueled by the fact that we knew that at the time that Ospreay was leaving and Okada wasn't far behind him. But I think that this was just a perfect sort of greatest hits of their matches and greatest hits of these two guys who've got a hell of a lot to play with. And I think they did an outstanding job. I think they really did work brilliantly. I loved just the retrospective sort of structure of it. And yeah, I mean, for a match that seemed to get put down as one of their weakest, well, maybe that's just a testament to how good these two are, because I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. At 6, we actually have a double helping of Forbidden Door at 6 and 5. At 6, I have Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy. I think that Zack Sabre Jr. is possibly the most underrated wrestler in the world this year for the amount of unbelievable wrestling matches he's had. And granted, we all love Zack Sabre Jr., but in terms of the mainstream, he is gone under the radar for just how consistently outstanding he is. This might be a personal pick. ZSJ versus Hechicero versus Connor Mills. Even the second Danielson match could have gone in here. But I love Orange Cassidy, so I just got a massive kick out of watching these two guys wrestle. Thought the technical wrestling was fantastic. I thought Cassidy did a DDT that's one of the best DDTs I've ever seen. Really inventive, really entertaining, and unlike Hechicero and Zack Sabre Jr., which I think had a slightly flat finish, this had a really sort of well-crafted submission finish that I think, it's the case of Zack Sabre Jr., he'll tie you into 4 submissions, so you submit if one won't do. And I think that is the testament to the man. Another really, really great match. At 5, the other Forbidden Door match, shock horror, it's Swerve Ospreay. A little bit overkill on the kickouts, but nothing that I think harmed it that much. Unlike matches like Ospreay and Omega last year, where I did have an actual issue. I didn't really have an issue here, although I was a little bit surprised by the amount of kickouts towards the end. But I mean, it's Swerve Strickland and it's Will Ospreay. What more do you want? It's two outstanding wrestlers doing outstanding wrestling. I liked all the story stuff with the screwdriver. I liked the false finishes. I liked the counter wrestling. I thought it was a very impressive athletic display, as well as telling a fantastic story through there as well. So yeah, that's my number 5. My number 4, my only WrestleMania match on the card. Yeah, suck it, Roman Cody's not on here. Surprise, surprise! If we ever heard me talk about Roman Cody, it's Bayley and Io Sky from night 2. And I think I mean this with absolutely no disrespect to Swerve and Ospreay, because I've just talked about how much I love that match. But the opening sequence of that match was the counter wrestling, flip out, flip out, flip out, flip out, flip out stuff, which is amazing. There was only one in Bayley and Io. It was the flip out of the rose plant, and it made me pop more than any of the other flips did. I think Bayley and Io was a great story that had slightly gone off the boil. And then they brought it back for the Mania match because, both of these women are fantastic storytellers and fantastic athletes. I think it's Bayley's best match in years. Probably since the first year of the pandemic. I think that it was a perfect Mania match, perfect crowning moment for Bayley, the perfect amount given to Io so that she still felt strong in defeat. Like I said, the flip out of the rose plant is one of my favorite spots of the year. And yeah, just a really feel-good win after a really good match. And yeah, I think it's the best in-ring match of Mania weekend. At number 3, we take our last trip to the land of the rising sun in the new beginning in Osaka. It's Bullet Club War Dogs versus the United Empire in a cage, because I like multi-man cage matches. Do you remember me getting on my high horse last year about the Stardom cage match and not shutting up about it all year? Yeah, that one. If that one was the Shakespeare of wrestling cage matches, this is the Quentin Tarantino or the Wes Craven. It's just blood and guts and violence, and it's so grim, and it is so bloody, and it goes for an hour, which will turn people off. But I got to the end of it, and I felt like they told a phenomenal story. Again, it's Ospreay again, so what more do you want? And I think that they did this really, really, really well, kicking off with Ospreay and David Finlay and then building from there. I think it started high and ended at maximum. They tear the ring apart. They tear the building apart. And it creates a spectacle. And I think spectacle in hardcore is becoming harder and harder because of how, homogenized it's all becoming. But I think they really did sell it. And I think they did a fantastic job. Now we get into the top 2. I struggled on this. You'll be surprised to know that I did struggle on this. In second place, from NXT Vengeance Day, it's Ilya Dragunov versus Trick Williams. A match that I seem to love significantly more than others in terms of I'm not seeing this anywhere near best of the year list so far matches. I think this is one of the best one of the best pieces of wrestling psychology I've seen in years. Whether it's accidental, whether it's just the fact that Trick is a rookie, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, through this match, I can watch Trick Williams' thought process as he tries to put Dragunov down, tries to put the big, huge star and the champion away. He'll hit a suplex, and then you can see in his eyes, he's looking, right, what do I do now? Oh dear, he's getting up. What do I do now? Okay, if I go... No, that's not right. Okay, if I go here. And it creates a story where ultimately his indecisiveness costs him. He's just a fraction too slow, a fraction too... Ilya Dragunov is just that bit faster, and they run at each other, and the bang, Dragunov gets there first. I think it is an exceptional piece of wrestling storytelling. And for someone who doesn't think Trick Williams is fantastic in the ring, typically, I think he can be a little bit sort of character over in-ring work. He's still young and still green. The fact he's got 2 matches on a top 10 of the year so far list is testament to the fact that, yeah, he can turn it on when he wants to. And it doesn't hurt when you're working alongside Ilya Dragunov, one of the best wrestlers to ever walk the earth. And at number one, oh, I'm going to be boring. It's the same as Souls. It's Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay from AEW Dynasty, because it is the best match I've seen this year. I agree with Soul. I don't think anything's going to beat it for the best match I see this year. If it does, it'll be a testament to how great a year it's been, because crikey Moses, this is just... words can't describe how much I love this match. Just probably two of my favorite wrestlers in the world living up to their billing, which is so hard to do when you have this level of stakes and with regards to fan expectations. And like you said, like Soul said, some of the chants we were getting, we're not worthy. It's funny, but it's was it slightly overhyped in terms of being called the greatest match ever? Yeah, it's not the greatest match ever, but it's damn good. And it's I don't think you could ask for a better Will Ospreay Bryan Danielson match than the one we've got. And with the caliber of those two alone, them two at their best, it's an easy number one. No matter how much how much my love for Dragunov and Trick nearly convinced me otherwise. And that's my list.
Wow, yeah, definitely. You weren't playing that. You went really into detail and really focused on this list, because that is a very what's the word I'm looking for? For lack of a better term, particular. Like that's pretty thorough. And yeah, I really like that. There's a couple of ones that I'm not gonna lie. I have yet to see Ospreay versus Swerve at Forbidden Door. I'm not gonna lie. I stopped at the match that I put on my list, if that makes sense. So yeah, I need to see what the hype is, and maybe I'll be like, when I see it, I'll be like, fuck, why did I not fucking put this match on there? But yeah, very, very, very solid list. Nice one. What about you guys? What do you think, Ben Ellison?
I thought it was a very, very impressive list. I think our lists are quite different, especially with the order of them. But as you were going through your list, I was like, I get it. And I'm like, it's almost made me more unsure about my list. But at the same time, when I say my list, I'm sure the same will happen vice versa. It's just one of those years where there's been so much good wrestling that we're 6 months in, well, 7 months in now, and we're like, what? Like, you could change the order of it up in like a billion different ways, right? Because like you said, David, there's 70 matches you rated over 5.5 stars. It really is an absolute crazy year for wrestling. But yeah, our lists are quite different, but we had a couple of the same ones, including one hidden gem, actually, we agree on.
No, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of solid matches. You wouldn't have really said this back in 2020 or 2021.
No.
The Miz versus Damian Priest, anybody? Anyway, what about you, Skull? What's your thoughts on David's list?
With what responses my mind can conjure up in this current moment period. I think David's list is very, very detailed, and to have 77 matches rated over 5 stars. Well, I built my list 20 minutes in with a shot of tequila down.
I just want to say it's been a great year for wrestling. 4.5 stars or higher. It's been good. It's not been that good.
All right, Meltzer, calm down. All right, Meltzer. Okay.
Seven of these matches I rated 5 stars. So everything from Okada Ospreay up, I gave 5 stars.
Yeah, I'm pissed. I don't know numbers right now.
He's pissed. Yeah, it's gone.
Numbers. That's why I bought you that Will Ospreay DVD for All In, because I knew you are the Ospreay guy. And to be fair, Ospreay's the man who really puts in the work ethic, and it's why people in the UK scene right now are idolizing him and want to be the next Will Ospreay, because he is a man who's putting in the work ethic, the professionalism, and the standards of what wrestling is in 2024.
100%. It's a very high bar to live up to, and rightfully so. He is the man. So yeah, let me just in this point. Sorry, El Jefe, I'm gonna interject myself right here and do my one. I ain't going.
It's all right, Alison. We'll get to your stardom list soon enough, so don't worry.
I've been waiting for this moment.
I love David so much.
Yeah, mine was gonna be fairly. It's not gonna be as thorough as David's, but yeah, I'm just gonna list my one off, and yeah, there's a couple of ones you might be like, what the flip? But hey, it's my list, and everyone has their own individual tastes. So, number 10, This one, I'm surprised this hasn't come up yet, even though it was gushed over for a long time. Gunther versus Randy Orton at King and Queen of the Ring finals. This was obviously Gunther was he was dominating all the in pretty much every match that he was in during that tournament. But this one, the fact that it was against someone as Orton, who's usually, you know, people usually criticize him for being a very slow worker or anything like that. Since it's been back, this is the most I've found him very tolerable, very enjoyable. Even in his singles matches, like his match with Carmelo Hayes on SmackDown, that random episode of SmackDown was solid, and the finish was great. This one definitely really was a true test to see if he can change his style and the way to tell a story and whatnot. And it was hard hitting. It took Gunther's chops. Everyone complains that he's a bit too safe, but yeah, it was a really different, nice breath of fresh air for Randy Orton. And obviously he didn't come out with a W, but the right person won with that. And yeah, it was a great match to see Orton in. Number 9, this one happened at Backlash France. And it was Solo and Tama Tonga versus KO and Orton. Again, another great showing from Orton, and KO is, you know, he's one of the. I feel like his work in tag matches or multi-man matches usually goes on unnoticed. When he usually pulls it out the bag and does some crazy ass moves in these multi-man matches, and this one he did. Obviously, he did the fisherman suplex bomb onto Tama Tonga. That was a great spot, and it was all over the place. It was fun. Obviously the ending kind of messed it up with the late timing of Tomaloa, whatever his name is. I'm trying to, you know, drag the referee, and we obviously saw the fan clips completely missing that, but luckily the actual camera work of the match, you didn't really notice it. But yeah, other than that, it was very, very fun. I thought that was very solid for a tag match that didn't have any right to be that fun as well. Number 8, this one is from Forbidden Door, and some of you guys already mentioned it, and is Mercedes Moné versus Stephanie Vaquer. I'm pretty sure I butchered her name, but fair enough. This really shows why WWE were just like, we'll have her now, and obviously and poached her from AEW and CMLL, and this is by far Moné's probably strongest match so far in her tenure in AEW. Very well put together, very well done. Both women put on a good show, and it's just pretty much what Soul and David said with this match, that it was it was just a great showing, and just copy and paste whatever they said and put it in what I'm saying. Next up is on Double or Nothing. I'm surprised this one hasn't been mentioned because I thought it was quite fun. Anarchy in the Arena, the Elite versus Team AEW. In my opinion, this was probably the best Anarchy in the Arena match that they've put on so far. It was not too many. There wasn't that many camera cuts. Sure, they did the annoying theme music playing at the beginning, but they made something different with it. It wasn't as jarring. You know, you see the Elite saying, "No, screw that. Put on our music." Danielson came out, "No, screw that. Put on Final Countdown." It was nice and refreshing. And obviously the stuff that happened backstage with Jack Perry trying to run over Darby Allin and whatnot was great. And then obviously the little interjection with Jack Perry going for Tony Khan, and then the flamethrower segment was totally out of nowhere. It was not something I would have expected from him. And obviously that nasty super kick with the studded Jordans to Darby Allin. It was a crazy ending, but definitely one of the most memorable, if not the most memorable Anarchy in the Arena match. Number 6. One of you guys have had this on there on your list. Sting and Darby versus the Young Bucks at AEW Revolution. It was a perfect ending to Sting's undefeated career in AEW. It had all the moments. Obviously, the glass pane of glass moment as well. Young Bucks definitely put their work in, and definitely probably the most fun match since they've done this new EVP stick. It was very, very fun, like a fitting ending. Glad that Sting went out undefeated, And yeah, it was just a perfect way. And obviously the entrance as well with his sons. You can't really fault it. Number 5. This one is also a Backlash France. Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles. Now I know everyone was a bit like, what the fuck was going on with the ending? Like, after all that, you just act like a bitch and then just like, you just say I quit. But yeah, this one was way better than that second match that they had. This one was was this their first match? Whatever. This one, the I quit match was way better. Yeah, this was their first match. And yeah, it was innovative.
You're wrong. The I quit match was Clash of the Castle Scotland, not
Yeah,
Backlash.
second.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
My bad. I got my notes wrong. My bad. Okay. Yeah. You're right. All right. Sorry. Clash of the Castle. Yeah. Cody versus AJ. I quit match. I'm gonna cut that out and put this one in there. Yeah. Number 5. Yeah. Very, very solid. And yeah, it was like I said, the ending was a bit meh, but yeah, it was brutal. They showed color. They showed that it was actual, like almost like a blood feud, if you will. And yeah, it was just very, very fun. I really loved it. Number 4, this one was also at Clash of the Castle, and it was the main event: Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre. This one, despite the little botch, but Damian Priest, as a true professional, worked his magic, implemented that into the match. And yeah, it definitely was a match that felt it could go either way. That was great. The camera work was just beautiful, as obviously we all know who we were talking about. You see obviously the faraway shot, someone just running down to the ring, and then you see the faded Jordans, and everyone knows what happens after that, don't we? So yeah, it was, everyone kind of called it, but it was one of them things where you will find for it being telegraphed, and it still went over. It was awesome. And yeah, crushed his dreams. And yeah, we'll see what happens after that. So yeah, that in terms of storytelling and the match itself, I thought it was, yeah, they couldn't go wrong. Number 3, this happened at Revolution, and it is a Will Ospreay match versus Konosuke Takeshita. This was brutal. I absolutely loved it. The chemistry that them two had was just absolutely awesome. Absolutely loved it. And yeah, I can't really say anything much. It was just awesome. Next up, I think this is going to surprise y'all. This was at Money in the Bank, and it was the women's Money in the Bank match. Honestly, by far, I think this was the best women's Money in the Bank match they've ever had. Didn't feel clunky, didn't feel so telegraphed. Minus what happened with Zoe Stark, but yeah, it was innovation galore, and it was, everyone there was competent. I said it on the Daily Show that this one could definitely be one of the best, because there's a lot. All of them are competent wrestlers. There's no one that's just for glitz and glamour. They are actual wrestlers that could actually put on a great match, and they all did. And no awkwardness. Everything went to plan. Anyone could have won. It could have been Tiffany. It could have been Vicaria or Chelsea Green. Yeah, there wasn't outright winner. And yeah, obviously we all know the spot of the night, which is obviously with Chelsea Green falling into those stacks of tables. Yeah, it was just absolutely perfect. And yeah, it was definitely it got me hyped. It definitely got me hyped. And now we come to number 1, which I'm sure this probably ain't on any of y'all's list, but it is obviously Ben Allison's favorite match, and that is of course Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. Yeah, this just had everything in it for me. It was just, as we saw from the watch along, I didn't want to talk to anybody. Even though Ben was trying to make content for the stream, I was like, shut up, let me focus on this match. Let me just see the 1, 2, 3. And yeah, like I called it. It was, even though there was so much going on, the main focus was Cody Rhodes hitting that third crossroads. Because he tried it last year, didn't happen. He tried it the night before, it didn't happen. If it hits that third crossroads, it's a wrap. And he had everything. It was overbooked. It was stuffed with craziness, typical sports entertainment things, but we loved it. It's the perfect way to do a 40 40-year anniversary for WrestleMania. And yeah, they stuck to their word. They made him finish his story a year later. But what a roller coaster it's been, and so far it's paying dividends. He's doing pretty well as a champion. And yeah, that's it. So screw your predictions again, Ben. I had to say that there, but yeah, that is my top 10 best matches of the year so far.
I love the Money in the Bank shout. That nearly made my list, but that women's Money in the Bank match was great. Just for me, there was a couple too many botches, but you were right. It was so innovative and so fun.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it was. The Money in the Bank, women's Money in the Bank wasn't near mine. I think I gave that a 7. Actually, and you know, I can burn with the rest of my predictions, or the rest of my ratings for popular matches this year, and that's fine. Again, we've said our piece on Cody Roman. I do think I'm interested to see Ben's list because I'm curious to see. I think the way that our lists sort of, when you actually analyze the lists, you get a lot of sense on what your tastes are as a wrestling fan.
Yeah,
which I think is great. You know, I haven't really got any of the sports entertainment matches on my,
that's more me
list anywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas
and I'm a mix of both of you.
Soul is sort of has more of the Brit Res stuff in there, you know, and sort of I don't know what Ben's got. Ben might as well, but you know, I think we all sort of, you know, I've got a lot of Osprey, a lot of Sabre, and a lot of Hosses in mine, which are again are my favorite things. You know, it's like Julie Andrews and the Sound of Music. These are a few of my favorite things, but that's sort of what these lists are. But I think your list is great, Chaos. Again, I don't agree with them all, but that's not what this is about, really, is it? It's not about agreeing. That's why it's your top 10 list and not my top 10 list. I've given mine 10 minutes ago. Yeah. You know, it's Gunther Randy's fantastic shout as well. That match was brilliant.
Definitely. Anything to add, Soul? Or are you too drunk? Cool. All right, cool. Ben Allison, El Jefe, what's your next?
Okay. So, all but that's a lie. All but 2 of these matches have already been said by other people, right? But they say 13 is unlucky for some. Well, it's lucky for you guys because I'm actually going to say 13 matches, right? The top 10's the top 10, but I'll give 3 in order. Whatever they're called, other shout-outs. Number 13. Honorable mentions, that's the one. Number 13, Trick Dragunov. I loved it too. Not quite as much as David, but just missed the top 10 for me. And also just missed the top 10 was Danielson versus Eddie Kingston. I mean, these guys, an absolute banger of a bout. Then WrestleMania, and I am so pissed off that I couldn't get this on my top 10, but it is Bayley versus Io Sky. I mean, these 2 ladies killed it, and I absolutely adored this match, and I was heartbroken when I couldn't fit it in the top 10. But it's just so competitive this year. It is crazy. But now, guys, the main event, the top 10. Let's kick things off right here in the UK. A match which I talked about at length in the Progress video today. Saul mentioned it, and that is Spike Trivet versus Kid Lykos. Lykos finally finished his story. He might have lost his mask in their last encounter, but hey, it was actually holding him down, and he is now the Progress World Champion. A great match, full of story. I absolutely adored this. You guys know me, I love story, and this was storytelling at its finest. But then, number 9. Well, Soul, you mentioned Stardom. This is Stardom. In fact, it's the only Stardom match on the list. It is Mayu Iwatani versus Shuri. I mean, this was very early in the year, but it was an absolute banger. I remember I watched this and I was like, whew, we're only a few days into the year and we're already getting these bangers. Very, very fun match. If you guys haven't checked it out, make sure you do. It's gone under the radar, I think, but it is truly incredible. But talking about underrated matches which took place in Japan, which went under the radar, let's talk about Masha Slamovich versus Miyu Yamashita. David, I agree with you. It was an absolute banger. It really, really was. Masha Slamovich is criminally, absolutely criminally underrated, right? Put respect on her name. But number 7, well, Chaos, I'm agreeing with you. I'm going to be honest, I didn't think anybody else was going to have this on their list, and that was King and Queen of the Ring, Gunther versus Randy Orton. I know some people said, oh, Gunther had to slow down to work a Randy Orton match. Oh, the ending, the shoulders weren't down. I think they actually should have done a better job of capitalizing on that after the fact. But the match itself, on its own, I absolutely adored. I really, really did. I thought from a psychological perspective, from an in-ring storytelling perspective, you're not going to see many matches better than this, right? And I think people are way too harsh on Randy Orton. Of course, he's not going over there doing flips and all this stuff. But everything he does do in that ring is calculated, right? And that's why, despite the injuries which he's had, which should be career-ending, he is still carrying on. He's still going because he can work smarter than nearly anybody else in this business. And Gunther, well, Gunther, I mean, if there's anybody who can beat Orton when it comes to in-ring psychology, it is Gunther. He is incredible in the ring. Did he have to adjust his style a bit? Yes. But is that also what Gunther is a master at? Yes. So I absolutely adored this match. I thought it was brilliant. So that goes at number 7. But number 6, Revolution. Basically, Will Ospreay's debut in AEW. I know he's been there before, but this was when he was there full time. Konosuke Takeshita versus Will Ospreay. I mean, it was a banger, wasn't it? There's not much more to say about it. This was Will Ospreay said, hey, I'm here, and I'm here to make this company number 1. I want to say this is where the best wrestle, and I'm going to prove it. And Will Ospreay started as he meant to go on, that is for sure. So that is number 6. Number 5. Oh, I preferred this to their first match. I thought truly, I mean, I'm a big fan of Zack Sabre Jr. anyway, but Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson, New Japan Pro Wrestling, New Beginning. Absolutely beautiful. Technical wrestling masterclass. It is just, it's my cup of tea. I absolutely love matches like this. But this is when I name the second match on my list, which nobody else has named. This is when I name a match and everybody's going to look at me and be like, what? But I'm going to name it anyway. And that is WrestleMania Saturday. Seth freaking Rollins, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, The Rock, and Roman Reigns. This was simply fun, guys. Nobody ever in a million years could have expected this match. I was loving it. The layers of story to it. I thought all 4 men worked their asses off. 45 minutes, and The Rock, well, he didn't even look that tired. I mean, he did at the end, but for the most part, he didn't look that tired. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was booked brilliantly to protect The Rock. But more than anything, it was just really, really fucking fun. And, like, that's all you can, ask for when it comes to professional wrestling. And I was, Chaos, you mentioned it, that watch-along, we were hooked in to a couple of matches during WrestleMania. And this was one of them. I mean, it's got a special place in my heart, this match. I don't know why, just the feel of it, the atmosphere. It's what I love about professional wrestling. But at number 3, we return to, normality. It's Will Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland, Forbidden Door. I mean, these guys, they killed it. It's another Will Ospreay match. What do you expect? Brilliant, brilliant. I thought there was going to be like a proper Don Callis screw job. There wasn't. There was obviously, was, an element to it, but it wasn't like Ospreay just got screwed. And I liked that. I liked the fact that Swerve, got put over. Really enjoyable. I loved it, but I didn't love it as much as Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay from Dynasty. 2 of you guys put it at number 2, and put it at number 1, and I almost agreed with you. Really, really fun match again. Danielson, Ospreay, what do you expect? Like I said, Ospreay walked through the door and said, I have a point to prove, and he proved it already. Phenomenal match. But in at number 1, right? If there was a Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling matches when it comes to storyline, this would have to be on it for me. It is Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, the longest championship reign of the modern era versus the generational story that Cody Rhodes wanted to finish. This was exceptional. It really, really was. We joke about me saying Roman Reigns was going to win, right? We joke about me being adamant about that. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the match, I loved it. I really, really did. And it was just such a good story, such a good moment. They nailed it. It might be one of my favorite moments that I've ever watched live in wrestling. Dare I say it might be my favorite, if I'm being completely honest here. Absolutely exceptional, in at number 1, and I don't think anything's beating it this year, because I don't think anything's beating it this decade. That is my list.
Well, I'll be damned. That is a very interesting list, definitely, especially I was surprised at number 1. I was like, no way he's gonna put that one. Even though I don't agree with saying we're making fun of you, like
I knew that was going to be number 1. I look, me and Ben argued the night. I remember the arguments that me and Ben had the night of that show. It was always going number 1, and it was always going number 1 in his list, and it was always not going on mine. And I think that look, I've had 400 people in the comments tell me what they think of my opinion on Cody versus Roman 2, and that's fine. You know what? That's fine. People can say what they like. I think there was too many things that were messy. I thought the in-ring work was good, but not brilliant. And again, I will probably always go for the work rate stuff over, unless it's Bray Wyatt, where I'd be more likely to, because of, again, a different type of storytelling. The tag match is a decent shout for me. That match might have had a chance if they cut it in half. But the first 20 minutes I'd lost the will to live. So when they got to the 25 minutes, that was actually really good, and there was a 25-minute stretch that was very good. I clocked out of it by that point, unfortunately. Iwatani Sayuri was a great shout. That was in my 77 matches. That was brutal. I remember that being some of the kicks in that match being horrific. I remember thinking it was a tad too short for my liking. I kind of felt like I was like, I could have done with another 5 minutes, and that was sort of put a little dampener on it. But I mean, it's tremendous. It's two unbelievable wrestlers kicking the piss out of each other. So, and glad we're on the same page on Yamashita
Yes.
Slamovich. It's an incredible match. Great list.
Yeah, I need to see these stardom matches. I want to see what the hype's about. I'm not a stardom person, but yeah, for those of you to actually say that and it's hard hitting as well, then yeah, I gotta check those out. What about you? So, and you got anything to add?
I'm no surprised. Roman and Cody's is number 1. You know, Mr. Allison here's all about the story and the voice is going, oh shit. And yeah, I mean, it's fair enough. I'm surprised no TNA on anyone's lists. I mean, it kind of really says what they come.
I'm surprised nobody. Like I said, it was a match that was again in my 77, but was not going to make my list. But I'm surprised there was no Will Ospreay, Josh Alexander for a match that got. Sorry, go on.
If it was the TV, if we were allowed to put TV matches, it actually might have gotten in mine.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
So that's right. It was actually originally in it, and I was like, oh shit, that can't.
Yeah, that was on TV, and actually, a lot of the matches that have been on pay-per-view for Impact this year or TNA have been good. There've been some great matches on Impact pay-per-views, but nothing I think that's eclipsed that match, which again was a television, which was on TV.
Nobody was going to put Matt Hardy versus Moose.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. And speaking of things that we haven't seen or probably wish we haven't seen, let's just wrap this up and give us should we just go through our I'd ask these guys to give their one worst matches of this they've seen, and this one can go between pay-per-views or TV matches as well. So I'll just quickly start off my one. My one is it was a pick between two. I'll probably still rate them off, but my main one was definitely not just worst, but also just disappointing. Jimmy versus Jay at WrestleMania. I felt like after that, like there was so much hype, and this is what they've wanted. I understand it was due to time constraints and all that, but you still could have made something out of regarding if it's time constraints or whatnot. It just felt like as if they just didn't know each other, like in terms of chemistry. It was weird. The crowd was dead as well. It was to the point where Jimmy was telling his daughter to like get off your phone, watch the match if he ain't clocked that. And it was that's how much it was disappointing it was. And yeah, like I don't think anyone could list at least 3 things that happened in that match. What I remember was that Jay hit the splash and then it was over. And then yeah, like nothing's been the same for Jimmy since he got taken out. But it's still like it was just this is something that we wanted. This is what we got with the Hardys, with the Hearts, you know, and Edge and Christian, even though they're not brothers. I don't understand that, but you know what I mean. And they put on way better matches. this was definitely, in terms of a brother versus brother dynamic, this is definitely the worst one so far, I think. So yeah, what about you, David? Sorry, not David. Soul. Sorry.
A funny looking
I'm gonna
David.
go last again.
Yeah, fuck. Ooh. I was going to put MK Ultra versus Decay at TNA Hard to Kill because, you know, it was, no offense, bad. It wasn't even announced. It just appeared and happened on the card.
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
But
Yeah.
I think to actually put a worse match, you have to actually have faith in the match first. So, Chaos, I'm the same as you. I'm Jay and Jimmy at WrestleMania 40. This should have been like a blood feud. Jimmy cost Jay a chance at the head of the table accolade and the championship. And they meet at the Rumble. It's tense. Things develop more. He loses the Intercontinental Championship opportunity because of Jimmy. And they just go out there and throw super kicks. Basically, Jay and Jimmy had the match that AEW haters think the Young Bucks do all the time. That's what I honestly... And the fact that Jimmy had to shout at his daughter to turn off your phone and watch the match, I mean, that's a bit fucking insulting that your own daughter wouldn't watch your work and would rather watch TikTok of I Show Speed or some crap. I don't know youth mentality.
She was watching Collision.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it literally what happened to Seth Rollins and Moxley's feud in 2018, where they were, you know, a blood feud that ended up turning into a really bad wrestling match. They needed a stipulation with this. They needed like either tables or TLC or something just to add on to the ferocity of their feud. Luckily, Jay has recovered and actually be able to get a main event push from this, and a lot of people want to see him as a single star and heck, even as the WWE champion. Jimmy, yes, injured, but when he comes back, where does he fit in? Is he going to be the heel again with his all right theme? How does he fit into a bloodline now with Jacob Fatu in it? He honestly, right now, Jimmy Uso to the bloodline is what Sami Zayn was to the original bloodline, just the lackey jokester who's going to show around and is there to take pins. He's really not in a good state right now in his position in the bloodline and WWE. He really would be someone who would benefit from the TNA deal and to go over there and reinvent himself in some way.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting take. Definitely.
He's going to be a huge part of this story when it gets going, this Civil War.
As the job guy, he'll be the ones taking the pins.
No, he's going to be, I think, the one who gets Jay and Roman back together to take on the...
And then takes the pin. Is that in between when he tells his daughter?
No, he's not taking the pin. No, winning, I think, at first.
I think he's shit.
I think Solo's groups.
Or basically, that's what Soul's been implying. He just thinks he's shit. Like, without Jay, he's nothing.
It's like Scott Steiner showing he's fat. I just like he's shit.
I love that meme. I fucking love that meme. Fair dues. Okay, so 2 for 2 for Jimmy and Jay. What about you, Ben Alisson?
Yes, I'm not last. Okay, right. Chaos, have you heard Eminem's new album yet?
Yes, I have.
So it's obviously a very brutal album. Not in terms of bad, just, you know, there's lots of insults, a lot of whatever, you know, so he's very Slim Shady-esque, right?
He's a huge fan of Christopher Reeves. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, gigantic fan of him, and also what's it called? Bruce Jenner as well. Caitlyn Jenner now. Absolute huge fan. Eminem is clearly, but anyway, it's you're listening to it, you can't believe what you're hearing, and anyway, you're wondering what's this next monstrosity. It starts, you know, quite sad, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be the twist, and then he's gonna go into something insulting somebody, and no, it just stays sad. And that song's called Temporary. Absolute banger on it, but very, very, very sad, right? I'm not gonna lie, it almost brought a tear to my eye when I listened to it this morning. But talking about things which brought a tear to my eye, Kota Ibushi versus Naomichi Marufuji was just an absolute disaster, right? Kota Ibushi, genuinely, a few years ago, he was one of my favorite wrestlers. I absolutely adored him. His kicks were always just, they were so good. And he always did maybe a few too many kickouts for my personal liking. But still, his moveset, how he delivered moves, I loved it. I really, really did. I thought he was one of the best guys in professional wrestling. I thought, this guy should be the face of New Japan, and unfortunately, when he became the face of New Japan, it didn't quite work out. But even still, like, he was so unbelievably talented. Maybe at one time the best wrestler in the world. I really do believe that. Oh my gosh, like, he's not even that old and his body just broke in a match, and you were like, what the... I mean, he's 42 and I think he was 41 at the time. His body broke and you just saw it happening, and it was like, this match, like, genuinely, I don't think I've ever watched a match where it wasn't like, haha, funny bad. It was like, please somebody stop this, I'm about to cry, because it was just so sad to see the man's body breaking, and it went on way too long as well. It went on 33 minutes. It was pain. It was just tragic. That is the perfect word for it. Absolutely tragic.
No, I agree. I remember that match I haven't seen the match from beginning to end, but I just see the photos and some of the highlights, and yeah, it's just really sad to see. And it's unfortunate as well, because if I recall, I read somewhere that he doesn't believe in surgery. Like, whatever is wrong with him, like, he just wants to sleep it off and hopefully it will get better. But like, it's
herbal remedies, brother. Herbal remedies. Don't fucking do the trick.
Yeah, just rub like some leaf on it. It will work. Yeah, you should be doing that. But hopefully he's I haven't seen him since, so he must be he finally might have listened and done the right thing. So
I think he has. I think he's got surgery now.
Yeah. So get well soon. You definitely need it, because I agree. He was one of the the quote unquote hardest wrestlers. Not that kind of way, but you know what I mean. It was
I think. Well, to be fair, Kenny Omega might think that way. But Kota, in all seriousness, I think he's done. I think Kota Ibushi's done. I think if he comes back, he might come back for like a tag match, and that's heartbreaking to me. But I think he's kind of lost the love for it a little bit too, because of obviously the entire stuff with the fallout with New Japan and stuff like that. I think it's really sad to see.
Yeah, it really is. Hopefully not. He said he deserves at least a farewell or just something to ride into the sunset. But yeah, if so, then hey, it's all about your well-being more than that's more important than just breaking down your body in the middle of the ring. So yeah, let's hope so. David, last but not least, what is your worst match?
I think it'll be interesting to hear. I saw Ibushi Marufuji the whole way through. Might be a victim of the fact that I saw it after hearing how bad it was. I didn't think it was that bad.
Really?
As in, it's not good. God, it's not good. But I actually thought, considering the fact that Ibushi had 2 shattered ankles, that the match could have gone a lot worse.
I mean, Marufuji saved him a lot, but it was just the fact you saw Ibushi falling.
I think there were a lot of quite good spots in there with Marufuji trying desperately to work around Ibushi. But it was not a good match. But it was not a match that I would consider the worst of the year. But I completely understand why other people feel differently. Should never have been the main event, particularly. Anyway, there were a couple I could have chosen here. I could have chosen Jay versus Jimmy, because there are 3 moves in their chaos: super kick, a super kick, and a super kick. Boring, drudgy dross. I could have gone with Jade and Bianca versus Kairi and Asuka from Backlash France, which is botch after botch after botch after botch. Which Jade and particularly sadly Kairi could not save, and it just descended into hellfire. I could have gone with the King of Pro Wrestling 4-way from New Year's Dash, where Great-O-Khan loses the match by running around like Benny Hill on speed away from the pinfall that he has to get to win the match because he's an idiot. I could have gone with Madison Rayne versus Deonna Purrazzo from Dynamite, which was an embarrassment to the company, because I don't think a single move went right. But at least in that match, that was just a bad night at the office and they were trying. My worst match so far this year, because they booked it this way.
I gotta ask real quickly, David. Is it a match on Dynamite between a current ass man and Switchblader?
It is indeed. Billy Gunn versus Jay White. Fuck this fucking match to goddamn hell. It's a match where 60-year-old Billy Gunn beats up Jay White for 15 minutes or 10, 15 minutes. It's so boring. And I tell this anecdote all the time that I was watching the match going, God, when are we going to get out of picture in picture? Before they immediately go, Follow the action as it continues in picture. And I was like, I even got to the picture. And then fucking Jay White loses by DQ. Jay White loses by he kicks him in the balls, if I remember rightly. I can't remember. But I was just watching it thinking, why am I watching the former IWGP World Champion get his ass handed to him by a 60-year-old Billy Gunn for ages, and it keeps going and going and going, and you keep waiting for the comeback that just doesn't come, and I cannot fathom how they put this on television. It's not as bad. Like, I've seen like worse matches over the previous years, like EC3 Tyrus is a damn sight worse than this last year. You know, I've seen there are, but for, like I said, Deonna Purrazzo, Madison Rayne, a worse match than this, but at least, like I said, at least Madison Rayne and Purrazzo was just a bad night. They booked this. They actually booked this to happen and booked this structure. Absolutely pathetic, and possibly the most damaging thing that's happened to Jay White since he's come to AEW. It was awful.
Whoa, David, that's former King of the Ring winner Billy Gunn, I'll have you know.
He is an arse man.
No, I agree. It was I don't know what they were thinking. I've completely forgot about that match, and I think rightfully so. I forgot about this, and yeah,
I haven't. I haven't.
Neither of the fans when Jay White comes out, unfortunately.
He deserves more.
He had the Hangman match. I wish that was on Dynamite because it was on Collision, which nobody watched. It's one of the best matches of the year, and nobody saw it. Such a shame. Yeah. Watch it because it's brilliant.
Yeah, I need to find time to watch it because I agree. I'm one of those people I haven't seen it yet. So
neither have I.
But so there you go then. But yeah, it was the same shit. My honorable or dishonorable mention was gonna be Deonna Purrazzo versus Madison Rayne. I watched that live and I was just like, "Jeez, is she trying to kill this broad on live TV? Like, what the hell just happened?" And they replayed it. Was it highlight of the night? If I recall, it was like sponsored by this drink. Highlight of the night. She almost drills her head through the
My favorite memory of that match is that when me and Ignacio did our debate, we had 20 minutes of disagreement on the state of wrestling, and then we did 10 minutes agreeing on how bad Deonna Purrazzo and Madison Rayne was, and it was a nice bonding experience between the two opposite sides.
Don't say that to Soul. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like that. Fair enough. Oh man. So yeah. There you have it. As we end on this note, there we have our top 10 best matches of pay-per-view or PLE matches of the year, followed by a little worst match of the year. And and pretty much we can all agree that the Usos need to do better. Quite rightly, pretty much. But yeah, we've come to the end of the show, guys. No games for y'all, so y'all are lucky. Don't worry, I gave you on a night off. It's a long night, and Soul is pretty much crying inside. He wants to sleep. So, on that note, I have been your host, Chaos. Thank you very much, Soul. Thank you very much, David. Thank you very much, Ben Allison, for joining. Oh, great. Soul, any announcements? Surprise announcements? No, for upcoming the social.
I'm gonna go fucking sleep.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. Fair news. On that note, I have been your host, Chaos. This has been Take It to the Table. Peace.